There comes a point when you realize you've been living life on mute. Not because the world is silent, but because there's too much noise. Everyone's talking, everyone's posting, everyone's performing. And somewhere between all that, you forgot what your own voice sounds like. Before we start this journey, before we go any further, hit that subscribe button. Because this isn't just another motivational speech. This is a wake-up call for 2026. For the people who are tired of being distracted. For the ones who are done living for likes and ready to start living for purpose. Listen closely. You've been watching everyone else live, scrolling through their highlights while drowning in your own silence, comparing your behind the scenes to their best moments. And every time you do, you lose another piece of yourself. That's the trap. The digital noise, the opinions, the fake perfection. It's designed to keep you chasing everything except yourself. And that's why most people never make it. Because they spend their entire lives reacting, never creating. Look around you. Everyone's trying to prove something, to friends, to strangers, to people who don't even care. You've been trained to show your worth, not to build it. But here's the truth. When you're focused on being seen, you stop being real. 2026 isn't the year to prove anyone wrong. It's the year to finally prove yourself right. To walk away from the noise, even if it means walking alone. Because silence isn't weakness, it's control. You see, the reason you feel lost isn't because you don't have potential. It's because you've been too distracted to recognize it. Every time you open your phone, every time you check what others are doing, you give away a little more of your focus. And focus is your greatest currency. Whoever owns your attention, owns your future. You've been giving your future away for free. Think about it. How many hours have you spent scrolling instead of working on yourself? How many times did you choose comfort over progress? How many moments have you wasted trying to please people who don't even think about you at night? It's time to stop. 2026 isn't waiting for you to feel ready. It's already started. And if you keep living on autopilot, you'll blink, and another year will pass. Same pain, same patterns, same regrets. But it doesn't have to be that way. This can be the year you lock in. The year you put your phone down, stop explaining yourself, and rebuild your focus like your life depends on it. Because it does. You weren't born to be part of the noise. You were meant to rise above it. To be the one who disappears for a while and comes back unrecognizable. The one who uses silence as a weapon, not a weakness. When you start focusing on yourself, something powerful happens. You stop chasing and you start attracting. You stop begging for attention and you start earning respect. You stop trying to fit in and you start standing out. And people will notice. They'll call you distant, cold, changed. They'll say, "You don't talk like you used to." And they'll be right, because you're not who you used to be. You're evolving. You're no longer running in circles. You're no longer entertaining conversations that drain you. You're no longer trying to prove your worth. You're building it in silence. That's what focusing on yourself really means. It's not selfish. It's survival. Because you can't heal, grow, or rise in the same place that broke you. Sometimes the best way to find yourself is to lose everyone else for a while. So when you close this video, don't just feel inspired, take action. Shut the noise down. Turn your focus inward. And promise yourself that this year, 2026, you'll finally give your energy to the one person who's been waiting for it all along. You. There's a moment that comes after you walk away from the noisy. It's quiet. Too quiet. At first it feels strange, even painful. Because for the first time in a long time, there's no one to text. No one to prove anything to. No one cheering, no one watching. Just silence. But that silence isn't punishment, it's preparation. Before we go deeper, hit that subscribe button, because this message is for the ones who are learning to walk alone, who've been misunderstood, and who are quietly building something the world will never see coming. Now listen carefully. Isolation is not loneliness. It's a sign that life is clearing your path. It's not rejection, it's redirection. It's not loss, it's alignment. You see, most people fear being alone because they've never met themselves. They've spent so much time chasing noise that the quiet scares them. But the truth is, the quiet is where you meet your real self. Not the version the world told you to be, but the one that's been buried under expectations, heartbreak, and fear. When you're alone, you start hearing things you used to ignore. Your thoughts, your intuition, your calling. You start realizing who was truly for you, and who was just around you. And in that silence, something beautiful begins to happen. You start rebuilding from the ashes. The world calls it isolation. Winners call it focus. Because isolation is where clarity is born. It's where the fake falls away and the real finally stands up. It's where you stop pretending and start becoming. And once you enter that space, your evolution begins. You start thinking differently. You stop seeking validation. You realize that not everyone deserves access to you, that not every message deserves a reply, and that protecting your peace is more valuable than proving your point. Yes, isolation can feel cold. It can make you doubt yourself. But if you can endure it, if you can sit through the discomfort, you'll walk out stronger, calmer, more dangerous. Because rebuilding requires space. And sometimes that means losing people, habits, and patterns that once defined you. It means closing doors you once begged to open. It means walking into rooms where no one knows your name, and being okay with it. In isolation, you're not losing everything. You're gaining control. You're building silently, healing privately, turning your pain into plans and your solitude into strategy. So don't rush the process. Don't fight the silence, because one day the same people who doubted your distance will watch your comeback. And they'll realize that you weren't lonely. You were rebuilding. There comes a point in every man's life when motivation isn't enough anymore. When you stop waiting to feel ready and start doing it because no one else will. That's when you enter what I call the discipline era. It's not glamorous. It's not loud. It's the era where you disappear and outwork the person you used to be. But before we go further, hit that subscribe button. Because if you're tired of breaking promises to yourself, if you're ready to rebuild from the ground up, this part is for you. You see, discipline isn't built in excitement. It's built in exhaustion. It's born in those nights when you want to quit, when no one's watching, when the progress feels invisible. But that's where the foundation of greatness is laid. In the dark, in silence, with no applause. This era isn't about showing off. It's about proving something only to yourself. It's waking up early not because it's trendy, but because you're done being average. It's saying no to distractions not because they're evil, but because you finally understand that focus is the real currency of growth. Every version of your old self will try to pull you back. The lazy one, the undisciplined one. They'll whisper, rest a little, skip a day, no one will notice. But you will notice. And that's enough reason to keep going. Because this era isn't about being better than others. It's about being unrecognizable to who you were last year. Every rep you push when your body says stop. Every day you choose focus over comfort. Every hour you put into your craft when no one claps. That's discipline. That's your silent revenge on your past self. The truth is, success doesn't belong to the talented. It belongs to the consistent. It belongs to the ones who show up when they don't want to. Who understand that results don't come from intensity, they come from continuity. This is where you learn to live differently. You start realizing that your emotions are not commands, they're just suggestions. You stop chasing dopamine and start chasing direction. You start living like every day matters because now it actually does. And slowly your life starts to shift. People who once doubted you start to notice the change. Not because you bragged, but because you became too focused to be ignored. This is the discipline era, where you fall in love with the grind, where your silence gets louder, and where you stop competing with anyone but the man you were yesterday. There comes a time when you stop begging people to understand your value. You stop over-explaining your intentions. You stop chasing those who were comfortable watching you struggle. That's when you enter the elimination phase. You see, this is the part no one talks about. The part where your growth demands silence, and your silence exposes who never truly cared. Because once you start focusing on yourself, once you begin healing, once you start leveling up, the wrong people will start to fall away. Not because you hate them, but because you no longer fit their version of you. But before we go deeper, hit that subscribe button. Because this is the part where you'll learn that peace is expensive, and not everyone deserves a ticket to it. In this phase, you'll start noticing who only shows up when they need something, who gets uncomfortable when you set boundaries, who disappears when you no longer make yourself available. It'll sting at first, because these were the same people you once defended, trusted, and loved. But you'll realize that some people were only attached to the unhealed version of you. The one who tolerated disrespect, the one who overgave, the one who thought being nice was enough. Now that version of you is gone. The man you're becoming has standards. He doesn't chase, he chooses, he doesn't explain, he executes. And the people who can't handle that, they eliminate themselves. This phase isn't about bitterness, it's about alignment. You stop asking, why did they leave? And start realizing, they were never meant to stay. You stop seeking validation and start protecting your peace. You understand that not everyone deserves access to your time, your energy, or your vision. Because the higher you climb, the thinner the air becomes. Not everyone is meant to breathe at your altitude. And when you start to rise, some people will try to pull you back. Not because they hate you, but because your growth exposes their stagnation. So, you cut ties, quietly. You stop explaining, gracefully. You stop showing up where you're not valued. Completely. And you start living like your energy is currency. Because it is. One of the hardest lessons you'll ever learn is that walking alone will always be better than walking with people who don't want to see you win. It's better to be misunderstood for your boundaries than to be drained by your lack of them. And when you finally make peace with solitude, you'll realize that not everyone deserves access to the best version of you. Because your focus is sacred. Your peace is sacred. Your purpose is sacred. And this time, you protect all three at any cost. There will come a moment, maybe at the end of this year, maybe at the end of 2026, when you'll look in the mirror and barely recognize the person staring back. Not because you changed overnight, but because you finally decided to stop being who they wanted you to be and started becoming who you were meant to become. This is the rebirth. The part of your story where everything they doubted becomes everything they admire, where the same people who ignored you now whisper your name when they see what you've built in silence. Where the same world that called you too quiet finally realizes your silence was your strategy. But hear me, this rebirth didn't happen in comfort. It was born in the nights when no one texted back. In the mornings when your alarm went off and your body screamed sleep, but your purpose whispered go. In the moments when you questioned if it was even worth it, and something inside you said, keep going. You're almost there. That's where you were reborn. Not in applause, but in isolation. Not in motivation, but in discipline. Not in recognition, but in the quiet moments when you refused to quit. So if you're still fighting, if you're still doubting, if you're still wondering when it'll all make sense, understand this rebirth is never loud, it's silent, it's subtle. And when it's done, nobody will believe how far you came. By the end of 2026, you won't have to tell anyone you've changed. Your energy will speak for you. Your presence will demand respect before you say a word. You'll walk differently, think differently, speak differently, because you finally know your worth. You'll stop chasing approval. You'll stop explaining your silence. You'll stop apologizing for your growth. You'll become the person they said you'd never be. The version of you that once existed only in your dreams. The one who walked through the fire not just to survive, but to rise from the ashes sharper, calmer, and unstoppable. Because that's what 2026 is about. Not resolutions. Not fake promises. It's about becoming unrecognizable. So focused, so refined, so disciplined that even your past self couldn't reach you anymore. And when people finally see you again, they'll say, you've changed. And you'll smile quietly, because they'll never understand what it cost you to evolve. You didn't change. You just returned to who you truly were before the world told you to shrink. You just remembered your worth. You just stopped living for validation and started living for purpose. So promise yourself this: by the end of 2026, you won't be explaining your goals. You'll be living them. You won't be seeking approval. You'll be earning respect. And you won't be asking anyone to understand your silence. Because your results will do the talking. This is your year of rebirth. And when the dust settles, they won't even recognize you. But deep down, you'll finally recognize yourself.